Oh, I don't know.
Get it off Wi-Fi.
No, it is off Wi-Fi.
Hello, everybody! This is for the government officials in Africa, specifically Nigeria. This is a presentation for government officials in Africa, but with the focus of Nigeria. We have solutions. Stay tuned for this PowerPoint presentation. As you can see here, we have courses to improve macroeconomics, behavior economics, labor productivity rates, expense to income ratio, and we want to improve your nation's citizens, intellectual property. How are we going to do this? We have online training, literary art and visual artworks that is certified as a registered novel work, and it's original under the U.S. Library of Congress. That's the copyright. And I'm a registered inventor with the United States Patent Office. And what are we doing? We're doing higher GDP to market conditions globally. And this program is specifically for Nigeria, Africa, right here. We're focusing there. As you can see, my credentials, I am a U.S. Patent Office registered inventor 1581791, and I've been able to consult under NAICS code 541611 consultant for 18 years. So let's get into it. We're excited to share. This is my wife, Danielle.
Hi.
All right. So out of all the different places in Africa, we have a program focused on Nigeria, Africa. And here you can see the budget office right here. We would definitely be able to assist with some of their existing objectives that we'll get into in this presentation. These are my macroeconomic programs that involve behavior economics as well for the individual. As you can see, there's superior macroeconomic policies for financial assessments, and who is going to be the benefactors? All three parties: individuals, families, and governments. So all three parties can get along on this program, and there is a potential for each one of those parties: an individual, a family, and a government, and we contribute to them receiving that potential. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, what is a GDP calculation that is used within the nations as a general baseline, a guideline? Well, here it is. It's called the expenditure method. So here, before the Economics Inc. program, we have C for consumption, I for investment, G for government expenditures, plus EX minus IM, exports minus imports. That's a good baseline if any country or state wants to do an assessment on GDP. Now, here's the definitions of them. And now we're going to focus on the, I'll let you look at the screen just real quick because, you know, it's about the attention to details. There you go. You can see the EX minus IM, and we'll move us out of the screen and we'll come back. Now we're going to go over to the new one that we have been able to help governments with. So here we go. According to Professor Moss, PhD, Harvard University, the expenditure method has emerged as the standard approach for calculating GDP in most countries. Since every piece of output must eventually be purchased in one way or another, the logic of the expenditure method is that if a government adds up all the expenditures on all final goods and services, then that sum must exactly equal the total value of national output produced. As an outcome, the standard definition of GDP is the market value of all goods and services produced within a country over a given year. Government officials typically divide expenditure on final goods and services into 5 categories: consumption by household, investment into productive assets, government spending on food, goods and services, exports, and imports. Now let's go to the after. What would it be like in Nigeria, Africa, after our program? So here you go, you have the same baseline, CIG dx minus IM. And now we're going to add in brain cognition, BC, brain abilities, but more specifically cognition, and professional codes of conduct. So our program adds these 2 factors in: behavior and professional codes of conduct. It's going to deal with communication, it'll deal with software, it'll deal with any type of professional code of conduct as a general overview. Now here we go. What does this mean? Well, you got a contribution to increasing productivity during market volatility. And excuse this little error up here. I see it. But here we go. We have Economics Incorporated right here. This represents the program. And then BC, that factor, and then PC, that's another factor. It's going to be a constant pull up on GDP rates despite the market volatility. That's just the changes in the market. All right, so let's look at the new one more in detail. The expenditure method for GDP accounting can be a reliable baseline to comprehend the magnitude for our program's local and national influential new factors. The expenditure method does not calculate a factor representing brain cognition of its citizens or professional practices in codes executed by citizens. The new codes and factors within Economic Think's GDP calculation include brain cognition performance of the citizens and professional practices in codes executed by the citizens. Now, what does this mean? Can we get some more clarity on the definition of brain cognition and professional codes of conduct? Well, yes, we do. We have a brief definition. Here we go. Brain cognition skills: the process involved in thought configurations, computations within reasoning, and knowing. Cognition includes perception and judgment, conscious and unconscious processes by which knowledge is accumulated, and processes such as perceiving, recognizing, conceiving, and reasoning. Well, that's interesting. We can definitely all improve on that. And so that's what our course helps those precious citizens. Now, Danielle, you want to just read this? Just read it line for line for professional practices and codes.
Mm-hmm. So the term professional practices and codes means applying knowledge and skill with understanding and good judgment. A set of instructions for the brain computing factors in order to perform skillfully. The term code is not limited to computer science. A brain computation executed in the form of practices that equate to a range of superior economic measurements measured in a health status, labor productivity rate, health statuses, learning curve rates, disposable income, assets, and lastly, expense to income ratio.
Thank you so much. So we definitely know that we can improve our health statuses. We definitely know we can improve labor productivity rates. We definitely know we can turn learning curves, disposable income, assets. So how do we do it? Well, we have knowledge and skills that are able to do it. And how do we do that? We improve the brain function, making the complex simple. Let's move on. What about the other factors? Like there's a lot of other factors that go on in GDP and calculating that. Well, we make sure that we do calculate those. Let's talk about inflation, high or low. Deflation, high or low. Interest rates. These all affect GDP. Consumer spending, if it's decreased or increased. So these are, I didn't even go through all 14, but as you can see, these are some major significant factors in GDP, and it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
Market volatility. But if you contribute to the BC and the PC factor, the brain cognition skills and the professional codes of conduct, then what's going to happen is you are going to be able to have a hedge against this. It's going to be a constant factor contributing to maximum potential. Because the brain cognition skills and the professional codes of conduct are going to happen no matter what, through 1 through 14. That includes quantitative easing. That's the amount of government fiat currency produced by a central bank of a government. Government spending, roads and infrastructure, staff. Export to import ratio. The amount of capital invested into a business productive asset. Recession, depression, wartime, famine, and additional market conditions. So let's look at this briefly. During the volatility of the 14 economic factors, coherence with the guidance in the program contributes to solving communities within the nations, and specifically Nigeria, of not advancing in BC and PC practices, regardless of the volatility. In the economic factors and market conditions, a nation and community cohere with the guidance within the program. What will happen? They will make progress at contributing to their potential. So it's something that we can rely on. We're always going to have those factors to deal with. And if we can improve them, it's going to be a constant uplifting.
Absolutely.
All right, we are very concerned about Nigeria. These are some of the facts that we have here in the United States. 12 million Christians have been displaced since 2009 from the ACLJ. 17 Christians are killed for their faith every day in Nigeria. This is very disturbing. And so we want to help Nigeria, and this is going to be eliminated because those people who practice the Christian codes of conduct are imperative if that community and that state want to reach their potential gross domestic product. They're going to add to the brain cognition skills, the professional codes of practice that we just briefly touched on, right? So we want to stop the persecution of innocent Christians on many different bases. First, it's wrong. I don't want to get too much into that. We know that, human rights and things like that, and freedom of religion, but also on the basis of economics. Think about all the losses in production that government could have had from taxable income, and not having these citizens need the government. So this is really important, and we're making good progress. So this is what we see here on thetruthinnigeria.com, that we can stop this with law enforcement and military and certain people rising up and putting an end to these behaviors of these cruel acts of violence that are really a systemic loss in production and a tragedy. Here's something from Equipping the Persecuted, showing what's going on in Nigeria, the northern side. ACLJ labels it as deadliest place to be a Christian. We just went over some of the facts from them, but I'll read it real quickly. So since 2009, Tens of thousands of Christians have been murdered, with entire communities erased in overnight attacks. Thousands of churches have been destroyed, pastors targeted, and families forced to flee ancestral land. This is not random violence. It is sustained pattern of persecution directed as believers because of who they are and what they believe. This is coming from the ACLJ. And so what's going to happen with this course, we're going to add to the efforts to stop this, because the military and the government would rise up and they would put a cease and desist on us. They use deterrence. And so what would happen is these people who would think about it, committing these crimes, the deterrence laws and actions in place, they would see the punishment for it, and they would stop. And there would be more protection as well, because we want to get more resources to protect them. All right. So at Economics Incorporated, we know people are not achieving their behavior, economic, and brain ability potential. So we've developed ingenious courses on biblical principles that assist people cognitively reason superior economic measurements. That's our logo. Well, what are some of these measurable objectives or macroeconomic contributions that the program helps people with? Well, we're going to get into it. So this man right here, Reverend Ezekiel, has cried out to God Almighty, the Most High God. And so we want to just be a part of helping this man's prayer and offering online training and resources. So how are we going to help the Christian congregations in Nigeria? Well, we have online training that they can access to edify the saints. They don't need to have a building. They don't need to have someone who's gone through a lot of qualifications and tests to serve in leadership, to teach. But we're going to edify and mature the saints and equip them. And Danielle, you want to read number 2?
So economic support to governmental departments. It increases the influence in the local community by supporting governments with the 10 macroeconomic and health objectives stated in this presentation.
We're going to increase the offerings to that congregation. Stages of life. At any stage of life, we have created thought configurations, computations within the brain that would contribute to the maximum potential. And then we would avoid those thought configurations and those computations within the brain that would cause a loss or a deficit in being single, married, parents, and grandchildren, and generations of a family. So the family structure, is really important, and we want to make sure that there is a parent-to-children relationship. And depending on how that relationship is, there is a maximum economic potential, and health status is measured, labor productivity rates, expense to income ratio, and then marriage as well. So marriage and parent to children, are there codes of conduct that contribute to the potential? Are there certain thoughts, configurations? There are. And so we share those with them. All right. So do we have anything in writing? We do. So this is the crown represents King Solomon. He was a real person. All right, this is not spiritual or mystical. He was a real historic figure. He was an authority in brain cognition. At the time, they didn't use that term because it wasn't adopted then, but he was an authority in wisdom. You can use that term, Hakma wisdom. That's a Hebrew term. And so he shared some of his trade secrets, and we expound on those, and we improve cognitive science and cognition skills. We were awarded right here a patent, and then right here an award for our course. So we're excited to share it. That's the book, and we use a lot of the book that we were awarded copyright certificates on for advancing brain cognition skills in all different nationalities and parts of the world. It'll work. And how did this happen? Well, we put a lot of research and development into it, and that is a part of the online course. All right, Danielle, can you read 1.2 for us?
So economic support to governmental departments, the objectives stated within the 10 macroeconomics and health objectives have been and will continue to be governmental priorities. Christian congregations support governmental departments by contributing the 10 macroeconomics and health objectives.
So government departments already have these 10 macro and economic health objectives.
Mm-hmm.
And so they already have a certain amount of money. They already have a certain amount of staff assigned to them. And so we're just coming alongside and helping them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now, how are we going to help Christian congregations and all citizens? Well, here you go. Tithes and offerings will help them with that. And then labor productivity rates, disposable income, assets, expense to income ratio, learning curve, and health status. So that's how we help the congregation and the citizens. We're going to go back to this a lot. There's a lot of time going to be on here. We're going to get used to these words right here, these terms, because this is where we focus on. We focus on the results. And then here's the stages of life. We briefly touched on that, but there is a maximum potential for each person during single, marriage, family, grandchildren. And we have courses to help the government reach that potential for their citizens. What about marriage to children? Well, we briefly touched on that too, and we'll focus on, in addition to those ones we already discussed, we'll focus on their time too. Where are they spending their time and their relationship, regarding dating, marriage, and parent to children. And we can limit a lot of those heartbreaking losses that happen with these relationships. Dating, marriage, and parent to children relationships, there's a lot of losses from the ideal design of how those relationships should be held, how much time they're spending, how much money they're spending on each one of those relationships. All right, now let's talk about the 10. We talked about the Christian perspective, but now these 10 really don't have much to do with the Christian perspective. But they do have a lot to do with existing objectives of government. Here in Oklahoma and the United States, we have a significant amount of money and time and really qualified staff. We search out very talented people to help with these objectives. And so we're going to show you this is what the program does. So we just went over 2 that are Christian based. Now, the next 10 are not going to be Christian based. All right. And so we're going to go over and let's get into it. Section 2. So we want to limit poverty. Now, that's a different definition for each state and each country, but let's just focus on it right here. So here it's under 14,000 for a single family. That's the poverty level. Okay. According to this year. That goes up with inflation, but you get a general guideline. And this is a conceptual presentation. So here you go. You got exploitation. So we're going to limit exploitation. We're going to limit human right violations, trafficking, prostitution, and clinical poverty. So based on our research, this is what we found. There's around 70 million people struggling to meet basic needs. This is specifically Nigeria. Adults lacking financial inclusion. There's 40 to 50 million adults who lack good access to financial accounts, tools, and then people with internet access who we can help. There's 103 million. Sources here are World Bank and Digital 2024. All right. We briefly talked about GDP. So this is from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. And so if the whole nation was able to take our course and apply the course, we're going to say that it's going to go up an estimated 10%. Now, we know the whole nation is not going to do that, but just a specific number of them. And then we'll show how that increases. Then we got vocational performance. Now, we're going to help with whether you're in the work trades, working with the body and the hands, or you're going to be reading and writing, we can help. Now this is education, as you can see here, and we focus on bachelor's, associates, certificates, doctorate, master's, mental health and substance abuse. So our program limits the amount of people who are qualified for that. They wouldn't need help from the government as an expenditure, and it wouldn't suffer, because this suffers from your labor productivity rate, income expense ratio, disposable income, welfare and Medicaid funds. So here in Oklahoma and the United States, we have healthcare, health insurance, food, and housing. And so we would be focusing on limiting how many people qualify for that, so that we would have them become more independent. And we would do the same thing in Nigeria, Africa. All right, there's a lot of issues with abortions that would really alter someone's life, their emotional state, their psychological state. They miss days from work, they may not be able to perform. And so we focus on that aspect, the losses that happen in their labor productivity rates, or what they're able to contribute to their community, and their own health costs that they're going to be paying out. Then we stop the actions that cause sexually transmitted diseases and infections. So this has been a big problem, as you can see. Look at this. It continues to grow. Department of Center and Disease Control, they do have a lot of other types of birth control, and so we've come alongside them and show them how they can prevent the STD, the STI, without any type of pill or a medical procedure, anything like that. We just renew the mind, change the mind, and their actions, and then they're able to make better decisions. And then here's the new and existing STIs. As you can see here in America, how much money went to these? Well, you can see about 16 billion, 26 million new STIs in 2018. 1 in 5 people have an STI, totaling 68 million in 2018. Where is this coming from? U.S. Department of Center and Disease Control, and we definitely want to help the youth, because they're most susceptible to this. So youth around 15 to 24, almost half of the new STIs. All right, and then foster care and child care. We would also limit the amount of people who would even be in this position. And crimes and incarceration, I would limit the amount of people in that as well. So as you can see here, we went over 10 of the macroeconomic issues. Now those 10, they don't really have much to do with Christianity, the Christian faith, but as you can see though, if the codes of conduct that are produced through our training and what they're able to do, they are going to lower government expenditures and increase taxable income. So this is going to give more resources so we can stop persecution to prevent the 10 macroeconomic losses that we saw. And in a state or a nation like Nigeria's potential. All right. So when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. And so we are definitely supporting Nigerians in having this come to pass for them. All right. Well, we look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Take care.
Bye, guys.